This is Twit.
Bandwidth for Know-How is brought to you by CashFly.
Hi, this is Leo Laporte, and once again, time for Twit's audience survey. We'd really like to hear from you. It's only going to take a couple of minutes, really. That's all. Just go to twit.tv/survey and let us know what you think. Your anonymous feedback will help us make Twit even better. And thanks for your continued support.
This episode of Know-How is brought to you by Blue Apron, the #1 fresh ingredient and recipe delivery service in the country. See what's on the menu this week and get 3 meals free with your first purchase, with free shipping, by going to blueapron.com/knowhow. On today's show,
you'll have the world in the palm of your hands with your questions and our answers.
Oh. Welcome to Know-How. It's a Twitch show where we build, bend, break, and upgrade. I am Father Robert Ballas.
I'm Brian Burnett.
And for the next however many minutes it takes, we're going to be showing you some of the projects that we've been geeking out to you so you can take them home and geek out on your own. Hippo.
Padre.
How you doing, man?
I'm doing good. I'm looking forward to answer some of these questions.
Yes. Remember, we were guilty of not doing what we said we would do way back when. We said we were going to try to get a feedback episode every 2 weeks or so. We kind of waited like 8 months.
That doesn't sound like us at all.
That doesn't sound like us at all. No, we got overwhelmed. You know, you get into the groove of a project and it's hard to break away. But we are trying to do it more and more to make sure that we get your questions from our Google Plus groups, from your emails, from your tweets, onto the show. And so we're going to try to knock a few out today.
Yeah. So should we just get started?
Let's jump right in. You know what? I've always wondered what it would be like to put an LED in a wall.
Who hasn't?
Yeah, no.
I stay up late at night thinking about that sometimes.
It's one of those, everlasting questions. Well, we got a question here from, is it Robert Haffer?
Robert Haffer asks, does anyone know of a 33mm by 66mm display that can be driven by a microcontroller? I have an A4 gang box with 3 light switches and a very analog indicator light that I'm planning on upgrading to smart switches that have their own indicators. They are Decora style switches, and I'd like to put an informational display in the 4th spot so all the electronics have to fit in a 1 gang space.
Okay. Actually, good question. I love this because he's trying to make something in an existing space.
Right.
And it's not going to be like a typical know-how type thing where it's sort of like, it works.
Right.
He actually wants it to look good.
Yeah.
I'm assuming that he's, this sort of house, this space is being used by multiple people, and he doesn't just want people to walk by and go, oh, damn it, Robert.
Yeah, exactly.
Which happens a lot in my house. Let's first start with what he's talking about. Alex, if you go to that first link, when he's talking about a gang box, this is the plate that's on the wall, the little box where you would put like either a power socket or the switch. So he's got something that looks like this. Now, he didn't specifically say what kind of gang box. It could be the switch type, or it could be this, which is a rocker switch, which kind of changes how the project works. So Robert, if you're watching right now, go back into your comment and give us a bit more information. He did specify a very weird size. He wants it, 33mm by 66mm. So it's basically what, like a
light switch size.
Less than an inch by just about an inch and a half or so.
Yeah.
It's a weird size. You're not going to find an LCD that fits that exactly. I think what he wanted was something that would just go straight in. Now, as for what goes behind the screen, that's not going to be a problem. If you've got a 1 gang box dedicated to this, the only thing you have to do is make sure that you separate it from all the high voltage. Don't let any of the wires accidentally stray over to the side that's got alternating current. That would be bad.
That's bad?
That's bad.
Okay.
So, I 3D print, cardboard, whatever it might be, but make sure that you keep the wiring separate. And then what I suggested is you can shave down the inside of that wall plate so that the screen can kind of press up against the opening. So you can actually use a larger screen than you have the size for, as long as it presses right up against the plate.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
So let's take a look at a couple of the options. Now, this is one that we played with when we did the Groduino.
Yeah, it looks familiar.
Right, so this was the prototype of the advanced version that I built. Let me actually just power this up. This is not really big screen. Actually, this screen's a tiny bit too small. It's smaller than what he would want. But the nice thing about it is it is OLED, so it'll be nice and bright. You're probably going to want that. The other thing about this is actually really, really cheap. This is a 0.96 inch, so less than an inch, I2C OLED. Actually, Alex, if you go to that link, this thing's about $6, which is kind of nice.
Yeah.
It's nice and bright. It might be a tiny bit small, but the other nice thing about it is because it is I2C, it means that it's going to work really well with any Arduino you have. You don't have multiple wires. You basically have power, so that's ground, and 5 volts. Or some of them are 3.3 volts,
right.
And then also the SDA and the clock.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. So that's definitely something that you could go with. Another option is to go with something a little bit larger. I've got a couple of additional modules that I purchased for some future projects. You could go with a 1.3 inch I2C LCD module. Alex, we've got a link for this too. These are $9. A little bit larger, probably a little bit more acceptable. This is definitely bigger than the hole that he specified. But, you know, again, $10 is not all that much. You'll need another $2 or $3 for the Arduino that goes behind it. And then based on how you actually want to equip it, that's going to raise the price even more. Like if you want to put a Wi-Fi module so that you can sync with it or so that it can be pulling down particular stats, or if you want it to actually be a smart switch where it actually starts running home automation functions, that's going to add to the cost and the size of the project.
That makes sense. But like, I mean, total cost of this would probably be less than $50 for most.
Total. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, unless he's going really, really crazy and he's buying some exotic components, it's not going to be that expensive.
Yeah.
There is one other option that you might want to consider, and that's this. Now, this is actually the perfect size for one gang. I mean, if you drilled it out, that's almost exactly the one gang spot.
Yeah.
And the Arduino would fit behind it.
What is?
This is a screen, but unfortunately the orientation is wrong, so the text goes this way.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's a little bit of a problem. These are not that expensive. Actually, they're much less expensive than the OLEDs because these are the typical LCDs. They're not OLED.
Right.
Not as bright, but you can get these much larger. Now, I don't know what your orientation is on the gang box, and I also don't know what you're willing to do to make this work right, but I do like larger screens. So this
Bigger the better.
Bigger the better.
I mean, I think for future reference too, if someone has a question like this, send pictures too, or link to like a picture of where you want to put your project.
Precisely, because there's so many different ways we can do this project. We want to help him do his project,
right.
But we need to know where it's going to go. I mean, saying a 4-gang box is one thing, but saying a 4-gang box that's oriented this way, or a 4-gang box that has rocker switches, or you know, the standard throw switches, that makes a big difference. One other thing that he can do, and this is if you want to go truly crazy, I didn't put links for this because they're everywhere. You can get yourself a touch screen, a capacitive touch screen that's about this size, and then run either an Arduino or more likely a Raspberry Pi, because you're probably going to want to do some fancy stuff on it.
Right.
That's kind of gonzo. It sounds like you don't want to go there yet, but if that is where you want to go, again, go back to your original post, add another comment, give us a few more details, and we'll be able to help you out.
I mean, we can't promise that we can make it look good, but we can probably make it function.
No, I mean, all my projects, they always look, you know, very finished.
Just like the one on the table.
Case in point, you know, on a breadboard. Yeah, your final project probably shouldn't have that. Yeah.
Cool.
But you know, I love the fact that you're thinking about this. I love the fact that this is where you want to go. I actually kind of find it personally fascinating. It's what I'm going to start playing with.
Nice.
Yeah.
Seems like it'd be a fun project to do.
All right. Well, let's talk about another project. You like your dog, right?
He's all right.
Don't give me that.
He might be watching.
You're the only person I know who owns a corgi, who wears corgi shirts, corgi hats, corgi jackets.
This is all true.
This is all true.
All right. Yes, I do love my dog.
Yeah, and I love my family's dog too. We got a little min pin and a little Pomeranian, and I'm friendly with that. But we do have a member of our know-it-alls, our Kitas, who is having a dog problem, and he thinks that maybe an Arduino could help.
All right. Well, Joseph asks, does anyone have a suggestion for an Arduino-driven speaker that can produce 23 kilohertz to 40 kilohertz? I am setting up a motion sensor dog deterrent.
Okay, I get it. So it sounds like either he's not a big fan of his neighbor's dogs and wants to keep them off his lawn, or maybe he has a dog, but he wants to keep the dog away from certain things.
Yes.
That's all very, very doable. And believe it or not, we already did this project. Well, not really, but really kind of yes.
But in a different
capacity.
A different goal.
Do you remember way back last year, like in the sub 200 episodes, we actually did an Arduino ranging project?
Yeah, you were going to set it up in your dad's garage, right?
Yeah,
so you have like a proximity sensor?
Precisely. And the whole idea was to use a little ultrasonic sensor, super cheap, a 99-cent ultrasonic sensor combined with a $2 Arduino and a strip of WS2812 LEDs. And it actually gave him a status report. As he got closer, there were fewer lights, and they started to turn red until it was like one light red, which means, no, really, there's no more room, stop.
You're up against the wall.
Stop. Oh, by the way, that doesn't work anymore. My dad hit it.
Is that his fault or your fault?
He asked me, he said, well, I thought it was like you would go to 0 lights, and 0 lights, I'm like,
oh, Dad.
Dad, this is the whole, we start on 3, and never mind.
Right.
Okay, so, but that's the same idea. The same idea is you use an ultrasonic detector and you use some sort of notification device in order to send out your deterrent. Now, in this particular case, you don't actually want a speaker. What you want is a transducer. And Alex, we've got a, there we go. This is the one I was thinking of. It's a 40 kilohertz, so you won't hear it. It's ultrasonic. You will not hear this. Dogs definitely will. This will be annoying to a dog. 35 watt, this is gonna be plenty loud. And this thing's only going to cost you $5. Now, this gives us a chance to talk about a little bit about tech. You know, anytime I can talk about science and tech, I love it.
Yeah.
This is a piezo element, a piezoelectronic. So, do you remember when we were doing the oscilloscope? There was that little component that looked like a little, I don't know, like an oblong steel container.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the crystal, the timing crystal.
Right, the quartz.
The quartz, right. And that works on the piezoelectronic effect. And the piezoelectronic effect essentially means I can convert mechanical stress to charge or charge to mechanical stress. It's going back and forth. Right?
Okay.
So in a regular speaker, you would typically have a magnet inside of a coil. And when I energize the coil, it pulls on the magnet, right?
Yes.
Okay, so what will happen is I have a wave, and that wave is going to energize the coil, and it will duplicate that wave, and then it moves the diaphragm of the speaker, which generates sound.
Yep.
In a piezoelectronic device, I don't have that. I don't have a magnet and a coil. All I have is a material, typically some sort of ceramic, that when I apply a charge to it, it will create mechanical stress. And if I create it properly, the mechanical stress will vibrate the material at a particular frequency.
Okay.
And then I get that frequency. So in this particular case, this ultrasonic cleaning pad is 40 kilohertz, which I'm not going to hear, but a dog will hear, and it will always resonate at that frequency.
Interesting. So you don't even have to like direct the sound in a way, like it just it vibrates and then it just goes.
It just in fact, we've used them before. Anytime you've used one of the quadcopters that we've built, remember that little buzzer that will tell you, oh yeah, I'm armed or my battery's getting low?
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually just took one of those. So let's do a little something. What? This was the ultrasonic ranging project that we did. I pulled this one out of mothballs, and quite simply, it's an ultrasonic detector at the front, little face, a standard Arduino. This is powering the ultrasonic detector. This is just the buzzer from a quadcopter.
I see.
Remember this little thing?
Beep, yeah.
Right. So, and I just have this wired in to ground and then pin 7. And the way it's going to work is, as soon as I get within 10 centimeters,
whoa,
and you back away,
it
turns off. So the thing is, that ultrasonic transducer will work exactly the same as this. It's the same principle. I'm running it straight off of the Arduino. They don't even need to do any additional power. And actually, if you go to my screen, Alex, I'm going to show you what this looks like. So just as we had it set before, this is showing me what distance it's detecting to an object. And as I get closer and closer, you're going to see those numbers going down. And I have it set for 10. So as soon as it passes 10, there you go.
Beep, beep, beep.
And then I release it, and it's going to go away. The code for this is super simple. I'm not even going to post this because this is the same code from the ultrasonic ranging project we did a while back.
Yeah.
And quite simply, if you go back to my screen, I'm using a library called Ultrasonic H. There's actually other ultrasonic libraries out there. I'm telling it where the pins are for ranging. I open up the pin for 7. I tell it that it's going to be output. This is the range debug feature, so this is just sending out to my serial console the ranges that it's detecting. And then the loop just goes around, it sets digital right to low, so it sets the pin to low, which turns off the buzzer, and it's going to get the range, and then it's going to call the function buzzer and pass it the value of range. And when it calls buzzer, it's going to say, hey, if that value is less than 10, turn it on. Otherwise, leave it alone. So I can change this. For example, let's set this for 20. So now setting it so that it's going to ring me if I get within 20 centimeters of the sensor. Let's wait for it to be done. Okay, good. Let's go back into our serial monitor. 158. Actually, Brian, here, why don't you play our dog?
43, 39,
Getting
35,
closer.
30.
No, wait. There we go.
Oh, that's cool.
Okay. Super simple code, super simple device. And actually, you know what we're going to do? Just for you, I ordered a couple of these transducers. We're going to put one together. I'll make a 3D case for it. It'll be like our dog Arduino.
And then
Dogduino.
Does that mean I need to bring in Tibbs to see if it works?
Well, yeah, naturally.
Okay,
I mean, it's got to work. I see. That's the thing. I don't know how painful this will be for dog. I don't like hurting dogs. So
Yeah.
I mean, that would be the tweaking. The tweaking would be make sure that the dog knows that they're not supposed to be in that area, not just let's freak the dog out because it got too close.
Yeah.
So I think the challenge will be the programming, because you want to have it say, like if he gets within 5 feet, like give him a chirp.
Right.
And then 4 feet, it's like chirp, 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 chirp. And then, when he's within 2 feet, it's just stay on.
It stays on.
Because the whole idea is he should be trying to get away from the annoying thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, we could always just ask him, like, does this hurt, Tibbs? Is this hurting your ears? I can talk.
I could bring in Gadget, but we tried a dog whistle with Gadget, and he just does this. He gets on the ground and puts his paws over his head.
No.
It's like, well, that won't really work. This would just be annoying to him.
Yeah. Oh, poor Gadget.
Well, I gotta unplug this, otherwise it's gonna.
Yep. Start beeping.
Yeah. But the cool thing about this is this project is literally as simple as what I just showed you. You can unplug this little buzzer that we used for quadcopters and plug in that ultrasonic transducer. Works exactly the same.
Well, what I love about those little ultrasonic sensors too is what you have there. What you said costs like $1 or less for those parts, and you see those exact same parts on like the Phantom 4, the one that can do collision avoidance. And so when you see them where they're not even changed, you're like, oh, I know how much those cost, and you're charging how much for this quadcopter?
When we went to Developer Week last year at the docks, the San Francisco docks, DJI was there, and they were showing us up there the brand new. There was a development quadcopter, and it was cool. DJI stuff is pretty tight, but they had this platform that you could add on, and it was a $600 platform, and it was for collision avoidance. It was just 4 ultrasonic sensors. And I'm looking at those going, those are HS RO4s. I know exactly how much those cost.
Exactly.
Why is this so expensive? I could do all of this with $3 worth of Arduino stuff.
Yeah. Well, you're paying for the brand name.
Yeah, brand, and also the sweet
software.
carbon fiber.
Ooh, carbon fiber, you say?
We got to start doing that.
I'm kind of getting my drone lust back. Like we've kind of put it off for long enough that now I really want to get back into it.
And actually, I've got a couple. We got a couple of those. So we still have to do the competitive build.
The 150 build.
We're building 150s, exact same kits, exact same parts. I might be cheating a little bit, but we're going to do a build off and then a fly off.
Yeah.
And also, I've got a big build for
what?
Octocopter.
Octocopter.
Yeah, we haven't done one of those yet.
That would be cool. And carry like a camera around or something.
Big camera.
Ooh.
And actually, you saw the camera. It's going to be a Black Magic.
Black Magic. You better have some redundancies built in.
I mean, that's the thing.
Don't want to see that fall out of the
If
sky.
I'm going to carry a $1,000 camera or more, like if it's a red,
I
don't want a single motor going down to mean that my camera's now dead.
Yeah. So, that is a nice camera.
It is a really, really nice camera. Okay. Now, we will be getting back to all the action in just a bit. We want to take you through some of the toys that we've gotten into the know-how lab. It's no longer the know-hole. It's a know-how lab. But first, these messages. Now, I know that it's difficult for you to eat right. We all get this. It's the geek lifestyle. You grab and go. You eat when you can, what you can. But that's not healthy. I mean, we know it's not healthy. It's better when you cook at home, but who has the time? More than that, who has the inclination to learn the skills, to diversify your food portfolio? Those of us who enjoy cooking have maybe 3, 4, maybe 5 dishes that we can do well. What if I told you that there was a service that would not only teach you how to cook, not only source really fresh, locally grown ingredients, but would do all of this from the comfort of your own home? That's exactly what we have with Blue Apron. Now, Blue Apron is a new way to think about home cooking. It makes it accessible to everyone while supporting a more sustainable food system, setting the highest standards for ingredients and building a community of home chefs. Blue Apron delivers seasonal recipes along with fresh, high-quality ingredients to make delicious, home-cooked meals for less than $10 per person. Each meal comes with a step-by-step, easy-to-follow recipe card so you can learn, and pre-proportioned ingredients so that you're never going to have to accidentally pour in too many herbs, too many spices. You get exactly what's supposed to be inside of your food. Blue Apron sets the highest quality standards for their community of over 150 local farms, fisheries, and ranchers across the United States. Seafood is sourced sustainably under standards developed in partnership with the Monterey Bay Aquarium Seafood Watch. Beef, chicken, and pork come from responsibly raised animals, and produce is sourced from farms that practice regenerative farming. Now, because Blue Apron ships the exact amount of each ingredient required for a recipe, they're reducing food waste. Have you ever bought that bottle of whatever it might be, some spice or maybe bay leaves, and you need one or maybe half of one, and then the rest of it sits in a shelf for the next 4 years until it goes bad? Well, you don't get that. Blue Apron sends you exactly what you need for the recipe that you're cooking. Blue Apron delivers to 99% of the continental United States, and their freshness guarantee promises that every ingredient in your delivery arrives ready to cook, or they'll make it right. You can choose from a variety of new recipes each week or let Blue Apron's culinary team surprise you. Recipes are not repeated within a year, so you'll never get bored. There's always a variety. Things like salmon piccata with orzo and broccoli, pork chops and miso butter with bok choy and marinated apple, vegetable chili and baked sweet potatoes with crispy tortilla strips. Or how about spicy shrimp coconut curry with cabbage and rice? Folks, do yourself a favor and try Blue Apron today. Check out this week's menu and get 3 meals free with your first purchase with free shipping by going to blueapron.com/knowhow. That's blueapron.com/knowhow. You'll love how good it feels and tastes to create incredible home-cooked meals with Blue Apron. Don't wait. Go to blueapron.com/knowhow. Blue Apron, it's a better way to cook. And we thank Blue Apron for their support of Know How. Okay, Brian, so let's get back to the action. We got a few things that I wanted to show off. At CES, I have a guilty pleasure.
Yeah, and what is that?
Batteries.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is, but because we're always running out of batteries whenever we're out in the field.
Right.
I'm always looking for a better battery pack. And a better battery pack is either lighter or more durable or contains more power or can power more devices.
Right.
So anytime I can get a company that gives me something that does that, I'm a very happy person.
Yeah, well, especially how much you travel. You start to realize how much you rely on having battery packs with you, and you don't want to have to second guess a lot of those power sources that you bring with you.
Yeah, it does. There's nothing quite like when we went to Germany, and I was sitting in the hotel room going, oh, did I bring the right adapter?
Right.
I don't want to blow this thing up. Well, there's a lot of these power products will take the guesswork out of that. And especially since now I'm moving between a standard USB ecosystem to a USB-C ecosystem, I'm finding that a lot of my old power packs aren't quite cutting it anymore.
Yeah.
Which is why I'm very happy that Anker surprised us with a little care package from CES. Now, Anker was one of these brands that they came on strong about 3 years ago, but they were kind of dwarfed out by Energizer and Energy. Anker had always had a nice little a niche as an OEM. A lot of these power packs were actually made by them and then rebranded. But 3 years ago, they really came out in a big way, and they have not disappointed. Now, when we were at CES, we checked out some of the power packs that they had brought to the show, and thankfully, they sent them to us here. Now, this is actually one of my new favorites. This is the PowerCore 20100. This weighs about 350 grams, so it's not light, but it's not heavy. I mean, it's heavier than my phone. Yeah. But what I get with this is 20 amp hours of power. That's 20 amp hours. That big Energizer battery, that was 18, and that was 3 times the size. So I mean, you can tell they've really improved the battery technology over the last couple of years.
Right, and I don't know about, I guess this is metal.
No, this is all anodized aluminum, so
it feels nice.
And I have dropped this a couple of times, which to my surprise, it hasn't even scratched the finish, which I don't know how they did that because I dropped this in the parking lot.
Right.
I thought it would kill it. Now, this can give you 5 volts, 4.8 amps total. That's divided between all the ports. That's a maximum of 2.4 amps per port. And these are the ports that it has. If you go to the overhead there. So I've got 2 standard USB ports and then 1 USB-C port. That USB-C port, by the way, is also the way that I charge this.
Oh, so can you be used for your devices and to charge?
It's bidirectional. 20 amp hours is enough to charge your iPhone 6 7 times, your iPad mini 2.5 times. It could charge a Samsung S6 about 5 times. This charges my OnePlus 3T. I think it's 4 times, and that's a huge battery. Charge and since it's going through USB-C, it actually can accept a higher amperage than most charging packs safely. This will do 2 amps, no problem. Charges in about 10 hours, which is, it's a while, but again, that's a lot of power that you're putting in here.
True.
And one of the other things I like about this is they've included a lot of the battery accessories. Most of these packs are not going to come with anything. This is important right now because I don't have a lot of USB-C cables.
Right, me either.
So I'd be going out to Amazon or Monoprice and buying myself a set. It's included here. I've got a USB-A to C. I've got a C to C, which I really love. I don't have any of those. And then I've got a USB to micro, which is the old standard. Here's the greatest thing. It's really inexpensive. Actually, Alex, if you go to the link for this, it's about $40 right now.
Not bad.
This is probably the best buy in battery packs that I've seen so far, and it's good. It works really well. I mean, everything from the carrying case to the included batteries, they've done this one right, and I just don't understand how they get the price point so low and still make money on it.
Yeah, it looks really nice, and then the little display on it is easy enough. You just hit the button, right, to see how much power is left in it.
This kind of took my fancy a couple of years back. That little thing. So, I mean, that's actually the power indicator. It'll tell me what kind of charge I've got. It will tell me whether or not it's charging. I saw this a while ago when they were giving away little power packs at, I think it was Showstoppers, and you had to shake it. And I just thought that was kind of silly, but it's kind of grown on me. I'm like, yeah, you know what? It's kind of cool.
Nice.
Shake it to make it work. It does include a couple of different technologies that Anker is integrating into all its power packs. It's got voltage boost, which I like because what it will do is will detect the resistance of the cable and deliver the maximum amount that's safe.
Oh,
this is a problem.
Smart.
This is a problem, especially if you're using the old USB-A standard, because a lot of those cables are sub-spec.
Right.
And you'll notice, how come it takes 5 hours longer to charge on this cable than that cable? Right. Some cables are just not very good. This will actually detect it and make sure that's not pushing too much to become a fire hazard. It also has voltage IQ that actually lets it detect what kind of device it's connected to, which means it will support various quick charging standards. It will not do the Qualcomm quick standard, which is what I have on my OnePlus, but it will do some of the others. For those of you who are thinking that you're going to hook this up to your MacBook, no, it's not going to provide enough wattage to charge. It might help. I think actually with the MacBook, it will help the battery not run down so quickly. But because it's limited to 2.4 amps per port, which would be 12 watts, it's not enough to power or charge a MacBook.
Okay. Well,
unless if you have it off, it probably would just trickle charge it.
So do you have something? Now that you've said that, now I want something that
I do.
I can do that
It's actually the next version up. So the next version up of this does provide enough power to charge it, but it's bigger. I mean, I don't have a USB-C notebook yet, so
me either.
It's not going to bother me.
Okay.
But let's take a look at something else. Let's look at their 5-port. This is kind of cool. Hey, Brian.
What?
At home.
Yes.
You've got your bed, right?
Yeah, I do have that.
And you're like an evening table, like a lamp table.
Yeah, my nightstand. Yeah.
You probably have a charger there, don't you?
Yes, I have all my chargers
Everyone
right
has.
there.
Oh, how many do you have?
I have my MacBook charger, I have my Surface charger, I have my phone charger, I have my Android Wear charger, and then one slot that I occasionally swap out for other things.
That's a lot, and actually that's pretty typical. People have their little wall warts. What if you could replace all of those with one?
I would love that.
Yeah, that's why I asked for this one. This is actually something I saw a while back, and I've been wanting to play with their version of it. I had I think a Connect's version, and I was not really happy with it. It's quite simply,
wow.
This is a 5-port charger.
Nice.
Now the cool thing about this is, so this will support your Android phone, your Wear, whatever it might be. This is USB-C, of course, and this does have enough power to charge any USB-C laptop.
Whoa.
So this is 60 watts. 60 watts total. This will give you 2.4 amps per port for all of these, and then this is enough, up to 60 watts to charge my MacBook or my USB-C enabled device.
But it's so tiny. How big's the battery in there?
No, this is not a battery.
Just
So this is just a charger. So back here, I've got a little AC plug.
Nice.
But what I like about this is some of the units that I've seen that do this, they're wall warts.
Okay.
Which means I have to like plug everything down. No, I don't want that. What I can do is I can have one cable
Set
going
that
down
on your nightstand.
This sits down on my nightstand and it's right there. It's nice and neat.
That is cool. I like that.
And again, it's the anodized aluminum, so it has a
pretty.
nice, pretty feel to it. This is the perfect companion for this. Go figure, huh? They made that doable. So if I were to hook this USB-C port to this USB-C port, this charges a lot faster than it would if I was charging it from, like
The wall socket or something.
Then I think my charge time is like 5 hours.
That's pretty
10.
good for that much power.
Yeah, that's not bad at all. So this is the Anker PowerPort Plus 5, about $40. So again, they like to hit that price point. That's kind of their jam.
Yeah, well, that would be worth it for me just to clean up the mess of cables that I have next to my bed.
I actually don't have it next to my bed because that was one of the concessions I made for sleep.
Oh, is not to have your devices.
I have no
near.
devices in the room that I sleep. So, but like my desk in the know-how lab, it's horrible. It's a rat's nest. I actually probably think I need about 3 of these things. But yeah, I'm looking at that. Now let's look at one more thing. It's for the traveler with a USB-C device. And again, I'm heavy on USB-C because I am making that transition into that new ecosystem. Is something for the car. Currently, I charge my USB-C phone with the Energizer battery pack, which stays in my console.
Okay.
It charges really slow, though. I want something that does that dart charging, that Qualcomm quick charging, and that's exactly what I get with this. We don't have a link for this because I think Anker messed up. They're not selling this yet. So I think
This is like a prototype?
not a prototype, but I think it was like pre-release. So this is their Anker Power Drive 4. As you can see, it's got 2 of these standard ports. It's got USB-C, and then this is a quick charge port. This will do dart charging. So this fast charges my OnePlus 3T, which is fantastic because I can go from like 30% power to 50% power in 5 minutes.
That's awesome.
It's really, really nice. 54 watts total. This is almost as much as that AC powered unit. Supports Qualcomm Quick Charge. It's got 1 USB-C. It's got 3 USB-A, voltage boost, and power IQ. So all the same technologies that Anker is integrated into their other tech is in this.
Nice.
And they don't have a price point on this yet because they haven't released it. I'm thinking it's probably going to be $40. They like that.
Yeah. Well, it looks nice, and it's got that same kind of metal that.
They've done good. You know, it's nice when a company that previously made products for other companies just starts saying, hey, wait a minute, why don't we just release this? And they did a good job.
Yeah, I would like to have this in my car.
No, it's mine.
Because actually, I have a newer car that does have a USB inside of it, but it does not charge at all.
Yeah, and that's the sad thing. I have a friend who he bought one of those BMWs with all the everything, all the smart gadgets.
Yeah.
He was so proud of it 5 years ago, and now he's like, oh, hate it.
Because it doesn't charge.
It doesn't
anything.
sync. It doesn't charge. I'm like, well, that's what you get, man.
Yeah.
And you basically turned your car into an accessory, and your accessory is obsolete.
Yeah, they get outdated pretty quick, don't they?
They do. All right, so that's all the Anker stuff. There is one other thing I wanted to show you, and you teased it.
I did. The whole world.
It's the whole world. Okay, this is kind of silly, but they reached out and they asked us if we wanted to show this off to our know-it-alls, and I couldn't resist.
I think more than anything, I'm fascinated by how does it work.
Yeah, I know, right? Leo had one of these, but it was in an acrylic block.
Right.
So this is a Mova, M-O-V-A, Mova Globe. They are kind of expensive, Alex. If you go to the link, about $145, $150.
Wow.
So they're not inexpensive, but I mean, it looks really, really cool. And what got me is, as you said, what makes it work, because that will spin all on its own. There is no external power. There are no wires. it just does it. And it's been driving some people crazy as to how this thing works. If I make it stop, let's see if I can make it stop. There we go. It will slowly go to the right spin. See, it's going to slow. Let it do its thing.
Wait for it. Yeah, because there's barely any friction in there.
There's barely any friction. So what we have here is it's actually a sphere within a sphere.
Okay.
See how it's slowing down? It's going to start spinning the right way in just a bit. Now, the outer sphere is this. It's a clear acrylic. It's optical quality because they want you to be able to see everything that's inside of it. Wait, here we go. It's going to start slowly spinning the right way. Oh, Brian, how does it do that?
I don't know.
Yeah. Wait.
Is it light? It's got to be light somehow, right?
Mm-hmm. So it is solar powered. But the inner sphere is suspended within the sphere. It's in a clear, non-toxic fluid. It's like a sort of an oil-based fluid. And inside the inner sphere is an array of solar cells. And it's got a movement mechanism. Now, see, now notice how it's starting to spin the right way.
Yeah.
It is powered off the light. So if I can block enough light off of this, eventually it'll slow down and stop.
Yeah.
But the way that it works is fascinating. It was a patent from like the 70s. That they finally turned into, I think they called it the frictionless drive, which is kind of silly because it sounds like perpetual motion, but this actually works. Now, here's the issue. Geeks who look at this and they go crazy because they're like, wait a minute, it doesn't have any power. I mean, even if it's solar powered inside, how does it move? There's no, it's like it doesn't get any traction. There's no moving parts on the outside. The way that it works is at the top. So right up the top here, there's a very, very strong permanent magnet. Okay, and a permanent magnet will want to orient itself north and south according to the Earth's magnetic field.
Okay,
right?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay, now that permanent magnet is connected to a shaft.
All right.
And that shaft goes to a platform that has a motor. That motor is powered by the solar cells. So what happens is when those solar cells get even that little teeny tiny bit of light that gets to the inner sphere, it rotates that motor, and that motor is going to torque against that magnet, which wants to stay aligned with the magnetic poles of Earth. So that's how it's moving. So that motor is moving against that permanent magnet. It's enough, because this is a very low friction environment, to move the globe.
That's awesome. Right? It's too like I want to take it apart and look at the inside, but it's too nice to do that.
I debated. I'm like, do I crack this thing open? I'm like, no. I mean, this is.
That's way cooler than I thought. Because you know when you're a kid and you have there's that little light bulb that you can get that has the black sides and the white side, and it makes it spin. I always thought it was something like that.
Well, so no, that's the pressure of like basically a solar sail.
Yeah.
There's an actual motorized mechanism inside.
That's cool.
Which is actually even cooler, because then you start asking, well, what is the motor moving against? And the answer is the motor is moving against the magnetic field of the Earth.
Boom. Boom. There's a little planet being turned by a giant planet. It's getting so meta.
That's like geek knowledge unlocked. And I mean, yes, it's a little bit expensive, but it actually does look really cool. Who wouldn't want one of these on their desk?
No, can I have this?
It's kind of zen.
It is zen, and the little map is actually really nice too. It's pretty well detailed. Although, I mean, how much longer are these countries going to be here?
I actually, this got me thinking. When I went on vacation last week to my family home in Las Vegas, we've got this globe that I've had since I was a kid.
Yeah.
And it still has the USSR. And I was looking at it going, that's kind of crazy, man. Wow.
Yeah, that's pretty old.
All right, so let's actually, I want to take this home. Mova, can I keep this?
It's cool. I think I like that better than the one in the giant cube, too.
Yeah. Well, because I can do this. Like a Kamehameha with a...
So it doesn't hurt it at all to spin it around like that?
No. And that's the other part, because it's not connected to anything on the outer shell. It's really not a lot you can do to damage that. It's just a shaft with a permanent magnet connected to a motor. That's
pretty cool.
When we come back, we're getting back to all of your questions. But first, here's a few messages.
Previously on Twit.
I got something to share with you before the beer pick of the week. Foley as a service.
Yeah, if you just tweet to the Foley as a Service bot that's on Twitter, you can just say, hit me up with a beer pick, and it'll just send you a beer pick. My life is complete. I have my own bot.
So that's pretty awesome.
Security Now.
At the RSA conference in San Francisco, where IBM's Charles Henderson described how he was still able to access his old car via a smartphone app. The app also gave Henderson the ability to remotely unlock the vehicle. And this is 2 years after it was gone.
All about Android.
I like the concept behind this. So what this is, what I'm wearing on my wrist. This is a tiny little subwoofer that you wear on your wrist, and it vibrates along to your music.
Oh, man, my wrist is shaking.
Is it?
For our audio listeners out there, right now Jason is wearing this thing and his entire body is vibrating. Just imagine that. It's like he's a blur.
It's so weird.
You can use it's not that weird.
Twit. Test drive one today.
This is to prove that it's actually doing something.
Yeah. It's running away.
We're back, and it's time for more feedback. What do we got, Brian?
All right, this question comes from Will, and he asks about more power. Can anyone send me a link to the adjustable U-bag Padre mentioned in episode 242? I can't find it in the show notes. I find that hard to believe.
And I do too, but no, I don't. Okay, now, Will, we've actually used a few different UBECs over the last couple of months here at Know How. The one you're thinking of is probably this one. This is the itty bitty one. I've soldered a JST connector on one side and the mini one on the other side. This is the Ready to Fly Quad's adjustable voltage regulator. I think we have a link for this. This is the cheapest of all of them. It's about $1. That's why I got like 50 of these things. And they are incredibly useful because they're so small, they're so cheap, really easy to use. Actually, Alex, if you go back to that picture, it shows it a bit better. Right below that IC, in the top picture.
That little Phillips screw head.
There we go. That's where you can adjust the voltage. So I can take this from 5 volts to 23 volts input, 1 volt up to 17 volt output.
Yeah.
And once I set whatever voltage I want, so in this particular case, I've set this for, I think, 5 volts. It doesn't matter what voltage I get in. As long as it's within range, it will give me that 5 volts out.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, so for example, this is how it works. You may remember these.
Yes.
These are my little steampunk goggles. I get a lot of use out of these. You know, the funny thing is, we've made some cool stuff on Know How, and people still... this is the one I get emails about the most.
Yeah, the one that gets picked up by other websites and then
stolen.
Yeah.
All right, so what I've got is I've got a 12-volt power supply here. I'm going to be running it through this UBEC, and this UBEC's going to dump it into the glasses. And there we go. Let's set my animation pattern. Whoa. And there we go. It's super simple, super easy to use. Once you do set it, though, what I would suggest is you do something like I've done here, which is I've put a little dab of hot glue over that little adjustment port because I don't want it moving, and then I've heat shrink it, right? Because I don't want it shorting out if it touches anything.
Definitely.
Yeah, but yeah, this is a nice one to have again, just because they are so cheap and they are so small. Definitely have a couple of those in your kits.
Right.
There's a larger one that we've also used, and it's this. So they're all the same. They go by different brands, but they all look like this. I think you've got a link there. You can get these for as low about $1.50, $2. Not a whole lot more expensive. They are larger, but they are higher quality. You're going to get a cleaner signal out of this. Now, I can't adjust the voltage on this. This is going to output either 5 or 6 volts, and the way I change it is I just move this little jumper here. That's set for 5, that's set for 6. This will take from 7.4 to 22 volts on the inside.
Oh, okay.
And then it's going to output always either 5 or 6 volts at up to 3 amps.
Okay.
It can burst up to 5, but the constant draw should be about 3 amps. This is the one that we use on a lot of our WS2812 projects when we have a long string.
That's what I was thinking of.
Yeah, because you're not, I mean, you get maybe an amp, maybe half an amp out of that one. You're going to get 3 amps out of this one. Tiny bit more expensive, but I would have both of these in your kit because sometimes you want really, really small and really, really simple, and sometimes you want something a little bit beefier. This is actually a pretty good one to go with.
Right. And then I can't help but look at the next one because it's got the display on it. Yeah. I like that one.
This one, this is the most recent one that we've added to our repertoire. We got this one from Banggood. We've got a link here for this one too. It's $6, so this thing's not expensive. It's really not. But the nice thing about this is it's pretty. I would use this in a project where you kind of want to show it off because it does look cool. So if I go ahead and do this, I've set this up so that it can run off of this power plug. So it's got 12 volts in, and then I can set the voltage I want here.
Yeah, I like that about it.
Yeah, so 5 to 23 volt input. So this is going to give me a really, really wide range of input. And it's going to give me out between 0 and 16.5 volts. Again, about 3 amps. And you know, the thing is, if I had to pick one that I would stock in my kit, I would probably pick this, just because this will give me any voltage I want. It's going to be the most durable. But there's a reason why I have all three, because sometimes I'm gonna need something really small. Sometimes I'm gonna need something a bit beefier, and I can deal with the weight and the size. And then sometimes I just want it to look cool.
Yeah, and I think this one's great for prototyping, like dialing in your project.
Yep.
And then you can switch to one that's a little bit more permanent if you're not going to look at it later.
Precisely. So again, you know, it's what goes in your kit. All right, let's go on. We got one more question before we got to wrap it up. What do we got, Brian?
All right, this one comes from Chuck, and he asks, I've got a Dell Inspiron 5748 laptop, and the problem I've had since I got it about a year ago and a half ago is that the battery will drain when unplugged, even when it's shut off. And yes, I mean shut completely down, not in sleep mode. The battery seems to have good lasting power, but when I'm using it on the battery, usually just over 4 hours, I have a hard time believing it's a bad battery, because I would assume it should drain even faster when powered on if that were the case.
Okay, now actually,
so something's draining it.
Something's draining it, and this is something I'm hearing more and more, especially from the newer but lower priced laptops. Very typical. It's not just a Dell problem. Every manufacturer has this. When you're trying to make, you know, that $300 to $500 laptop, large screen processor, you're probably going to skimp on some of the customization. You just basically went out to the OEM and said, I need something that hits this price point, put everything in there.
Exactly.
Yeah, you're going to run into that. But thankfully, he's given us an opportunity to do a little bit of differential diagnosis and troubleshooting. This is something that all you folks at home can play along with. Let's collect the data. So we know
detective work.
Yeah. It's about a year and a half old, which means we'll talk about what that means. He also confirms that he's shutting it off. He's actually turning the thing off. He's not putting it into sleep. He's not putting it into hibernate. He's actually shutting down the computer.
Right, completely off.
Completely off. And we know that the battery lasts over 4 hours when it's running.
Right.
Okay, those are 3 key pieces of information, because from that we can diagnose. If it's 1.5 years old, it's probably running Windows 10.
Right.
Dell started providing Windows 10 2 years ago. So either it's Windows 10 or it's Windows 8.1, same difference in this particular case.
Okay.
We also know that with a runtime of 4 hours, he's very close to what that laptop is supposed to give out. I checked the specs. It's a desktop replacement. It's not really a mobile powerhouse. It's got a 15-inch screen. It's like one of those standard Dells, the clunky Dells.
Yeah.
So the battery pack's not the problem. Battery pack's actually okay. We also know that since the laptop hasn't exploded or caught on fire, that there's not a short, because lithium ion is very sensitive to any sort of shorts. It will cause a runaway reaction.
Right.
That's when you get bad things like batteries bulging or
which is not unheard of.
Blowing up.
Yeah. Bad.
So with that, we can troubleshoot. Let's go through a couple of things that I've done, because I've seen this scenario on a few of the laptops that I've troubleshot. The first thing you want to do is remove. Don't just turn off. Remove anything that says Dell Power Optimization.
Okay.
Especially on their lower end stuff.
Yeah.
It's worse than useless. It's harmful. Those power utilities are terrible. Let Windows manage its own power.
Okay, but how would that affect the machine if it's completely shut down even?
And we're going to talk about that, because believe it or not, since these laptops are using UEFI and they're more tightly integrated with the OS. So they used to be you had BIOS and then you had OS, and the OS doesn't affect the BIOS, and the BIOS just tells the OS what it can use, right? UEFI, I still hate that. It's more tightly bound because it's protected, because it's supposed to keep unauthorized operating systems from running. The OS can actually set certain parameters within the UEFI that can affect power.
Okay.
And that's why I say ditch all of the Dell Power Optimization stuff. It's no bueno.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense.
Okay. The other thing is go into power settings and disable anything that might be trying to take the laptop out of a sleep mode. Like, for example, Alex, if you go to my laptop real quick, let's get out of our Arduino mode here. We're going to go into our power settings right here. And what I can do is I can go into change plan settings, and then if I go to change advanced power settings, I get this. And if you could get in on that, Alex. Get in on there.
Zoom in, enhance.
Yeah. So a couple of things I'm going to want is basically turn off all the stuff that might allow for wake-up timers. This is kind of annoying, but you have to do it because you might actually be your OS might be telling your computer to constantly check the Ethernet port or its Wi-Fi adapter to see if there's a signal for it to wake up. I have that set on a lot of the laptops that I manage because I want to be able to wake it up and do a remote update.
Oh, okay.
If even if the user has gone home for the day and has shut off their laptop.
Right. All
right. But you don't want that. So make sure you go in there and just turn off anything that might be waking up your laptop.
Okay.
Now, if you do all of this and nothing works, there's only one thing you can try. The last step is
the nuclear option, kind of.
The nuclear option. And sing it with me. Fdisk format reinstall, do-da, do-da. No, okay. You don't have to do all that anymore. Just do a fresh installation of Windows 10. Set it back to factory defaults. Don't install any of the junk that comes along with it. If you're still getting the problem after you do that, then Dell's got a really crappy laptop.
Yeah, I mean, at that point, would it be worth trying to just replace the battery?
No.
Because you'll still have the same issue.
It's still going to be the same issue. I mean, again, unless the battery pack is bulging or it's giving you like 2 hours of battery life, battery pack's probably fine.
Yeah.
For that laptop, it's giving what it's supposed to be giving.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with it.
It's just frustrating that you think you've turned it completely off and it's still draining.
Yeah. Yeah, and he did. By the way, in the original post, we cut it out because of brevity, but he did say that he has sent this thing in for warranty service once. If this persists and if you're getting close to the end of your warranty, then I'd send it in again and make them deal with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what you're paying for.
Well, and that applies to that could apply to a lot of different laptops and stuff too. I didn't know that about the sleep settings, so.
Yeah, go figure. Folks, we know that this was a lot of information, especially since it's a feedback episode. We want to make sure that you can follow along at home, and you do that by going to our show notes. Brian, where did they find those?
It's at twit.tv/KH, and you'll find our show notes and links to all the stuff we talked about today, and also a way to subscribe or download the show.
Yeah, it's a great place to show your support for Know How. Make sure that you get us as an RSS feed so we can automatically appear on your device of choice. Also, don't forget that you can find us on the socials, especially Google+. Go to Google+, look for Know How, ask to join. There's a quick approval process just to keep out all the spam accounts, but once you're in, you get access to almost 11,000 Kitas. That's our know-it-alls. People who can help you build your projects, people who can help you find new projects, people maybe who you can help with your expertise. It's part of the community. It's part of what it means to be a maker and a DIYer. And again, that's at Google+, and just look for Know How.
Yeah, but that's not the only place you can find us. If you want to see what we're doing behind the scenes or what projects we might be coming up on a future episode, you'll want to follow us on Twitter. I am at cranky_hippo.
And you're going to find me at PadreSJ. And you're going to find the third member of our group, our illustrious director, Jimbo? Jimbo.
Jim. It's just Jim.
Just Jim. You're going to find Jim at ANELF3. That's Twitter/ANELF3. Until next time, I'm Father Robert Baldassare.
I'm Brian Burnett.
And now that you know how,
go take over the world. I wouldn't drop it.
Pinky and the Brian. Pinky and the Brian.